Thankfully, Mr. Kwasi Kwarteng speaks for the Education Ministry is with us. Mr. Kwarteng, so what clarity can you give us on this investigative committee that was supposed to have commenced immediately on the 21st of June 2022 and ended on Friday, 29th July 2022?
The rest of the panelists. Before I proceed with that, I think it's important that I take the opportunity to commend the fourth estate team, particularly Manasseh Zuri himself, who led the investigations. They've done a very yeoman's job, because what they've done apparently is going to help us to be able to strengthen the system that we have. Of course, whatever is happening is not very alien to the Ministry of Education. Broadly, any system where you have some form of human interface also operating in it is usually fraught with some of these challenges. You may not want to justify with examples, but of course, if you go to, for instance, the passport office, the VLA office, the port, you may have some of these challenges. And so his piece, the minister has given assurance that we are going to study it. Of course, even if it has to do with collaborating with themselves and other state institutions, for instance, the security agencies, I will collaborate with all of them like we have always been doing to make sure that we get to the bottom of it. At the same time, I think we have to use the opportunity to again caution prospective students, parents, and the entire or the general public, of course, to be wary of some unscrupulous individuals who may promise them heaven, whilst they themselves may not even have the license to salvation. There are also instances where indeed people promises heaven, and just like the documentary proved that indeed they have been able to deliver the heaven. But I believe that we as a people need to understand the placement system and the placement regime. And I'm of the view that if we understand what goes into it, yes, we will be able to admit that those challenges are something that indeed can come up. But of course, it's about how we address it. That could probably, make a case of whether indeed an element of corruption can be sustained or not. And then, back to your question. Yes, I have just spoken with the chief director of the ministry, who happens to be the writer of the letter, the said letter. And then the feedback that I have is that indeed a committee was commissioned to investigate internally, the issue, some of these issues that has been raised, because like I indicated, this is the first time we are witnessing such challenges within the placement space. The committee had finished their work. There were some recommendations that came up, but of course the committee was not working in isolation. They were also working in collaboration with other state institutions, because even if you look at Manasseh's video, for instance, there was some element of criminality in it, allegedly, because some people were arrested. So at some point, the committee was working with the police. The committee had to work with the national security. The committee had to work with the Ghana Education Service, and even the Ministry of Education themselves. They came up with some recommendations. Of course, some can be public. Some I cannot share them here because of the nature of how classified the document is. But I'm sure, the RTR currently permits, with the right processes, we should be able to get the full details of the report. But some of the recommendations are quite interesting, and it points to what Manasseh was saying, that indeed you could have some people that probably have been aiding the process. But it all takes us back to how the process runs, because you have...
So it's because now we have clarity. Because we're all asking the same question, did this happen? So we've answered the first one, which is that the committee was actually set up and they did the work.
Yeah, they did the work.
So